Hi, this is David Miller, and I'm here with a mini lecture to take us from Jane Austen to Charles Dickens. From Shakespeare in 1595 to Austen in 1813 is a leap of more than 200 years. The leap from Austen to Dickens is much shorter, more of a bounce. Dickens was born in 1812, while Austen was working out the final revisions to Pride and Prejudice. He published Great Expectations in 1860 and 61. Not quite 50 years later. The differences between the two are considerable. Jane Austen's fiction does not explore the lives of servants, children, criminals, common laborers, or the poor. The motives of her characters may be misjudged, but when they are, the error is corrected. Guilt and shame are social matters tied to reputation and rational judgment, not, as in Dickens, mysterious or unknowable depths of the psyche. Austen's scenes are not set in lurid, bleak, harsh, filthy, or disgusting places. Her plots feature no murders, no savage beatings, or fatal accidents. When we talked about distance in Pride and Prejudice, you recall that I mentioned the greater freedom of movement men traditionally enjoyed. Jane Austen traveled little. She sat and wrote in the parlor of a house shared with her mother and sister, ready to hide her writing at a moment's notice if she heard the creak of the door that meant someone was coming. Dickens was deeply restless. He traveled ceaselessly to France, to Italy, to other parts of Europe, to America. He needed change and diversion, needed to live in a city like London or Paris. When he was in the city, he walked the streets at night, an experience you can't imagine Jane Austen having. This is a sample entry from Peter Ackroyd's biography of Dickens. 1856, a year before his life was irrevocably to change, 14 years before his death, a year of restlessness, a year of continual movement from place to place. Dickens's plan was to stay in Paris until May and then move on for the summer to Boulogne. He liked to walk still. Walk endlessly. He walked the old walls of Paris, and at night he used to wander into strange places. Dickens's novels reflect this restless energy. Unlike Austen's fiction, resolutely limited to a few country neighborhoods, Dickens's novels, like their author, cover a lot of ground. They often dwell in the city, moving with ease from the splendid rooms of great houses to the stinking cul-de-sacs of the most wretched poverty. They walk the night and wander into strange places. Dickens and Austen are great comic stylists, both gifted with a sharp sense of irony and a keen eye for the peculiarities of human speech and behavior, and yet their styles could hardly be more different. Austen's narrator may not be recognizable as male or female, lawyer or landowner, urban or rural. But one thing about this narrator is clear. The voice is that of an adult. It speaks with poise and measured wit, and a thorough knowledge of the social world it describes. The point of view is omniscient. Great Expectations is told in the first person, and that makes a huge difference. It is also told, in Volume 1, from a child's point of view, something we can't imagine Austen's style doing for all its precision and subtlety. This was, in fact, one of Dickens's great innovations. He was the first English novelist to use children as narrators. Not the first to feature a child as the main character of a story, but the first to tell the story from the child's point of view. The first time Dickens tried this, in a section of the novel Dombey and Son, his letters show that he was quite conscious of experimenting with something new to English fiction. He didn't use first-person narration, not that time. Instead, he used what is called free and direct discourse, a technique by which the narrator enters into the thoughts of a character and begins telling the story from that character's point of view, but without actually using the character's own voice to do it. By the time he was writing Great Expectations, almost 20 years later, he was confident enough not only to adopt the child's point of view, but to do so in the first person. The novel begins as its protagonist names himself. And here we are with names again. Born Philip Pirrip, he cannot pronounce the name, which comes out simply as Pip, like the sound of a baby bird asking for food. This infantile act of self-naming replaces both the family name and what is called the given or Christian name. And in this way, it emphasizes the orphan's break with any idea of lineage. Next time, we'll get started with a close look at the novel's opening scene.